to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the program. We have a good guest for you. We have somebody who is on the Corn Ferry Tour and the West Florida Golf Tour. So that really hits home to what started out as the genesis of this podcast, Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks and also the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoastdreams.com. We wanted the dreamers, those that are chasing the dream, doing whatever it takes to get to the bigger tours. And our guest today, Caleb VanArragon, he's living the dream right now, but he knows the grit and the grind of playing on mini tours and then stepping up in competition levels because he's now made it to the Corn Ferry Tour. He made it through Q School. We're going to talk about that, the nerves that were involved in it, where he's been and where he's going, and just the life of growing up around golf in the great state of Minnesota. Fascinating young man, really excited about getting his life moving forward with golf at the center of it. Ups and downs, really good when he started. Had some trouble with his golf and his confidence throughout. He's very honest about talking about that. So if the purpose of this podcast when we created it was to just have real deep conversations and peel back the layers and get to know people that maybe we're all going to know later on, I think this is a really good example of that in Caleb VanArragon. Big thanks to Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, if you're tired of beer or crappy hard seltzers, try Party. Spot on, for golfers by golfers, and that makes all the difference. And if you're in the golf business and you're not selling Party right now, see across the bottom of the screen there, Party is available through Paradise Craft Distributors, the exclusive distributor of Party in the state of Florida. And if your dream is to live in a golf resort community like Lakewood National Golf Club, where this podcast originates from, nobody better to help you out than the golf real estate pros of Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh from suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. Okay, so that's the preamble. Now, here's the big star of the show, Caleb VanArragon. How you doing, man? You're looking good.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
Well, you're looking good. The swag is good. We're going to get into your sponsors, but first of all, where exactly are you joining us from today? We'll get into the hometown stuff, but where are you hanging your hat right now? Where are you living?
Yeah, right now I'm in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, outside of Sarasota. I moved there probably 4 months ago. Like you said, originally I'm from Minnesota, but obviously it's not, it doesn't work too well to try to play professional golf out of Minnesota in the winter. So I knew I was going to have to go somewhere warm. So moving down here in Lakewood Ranch with a couple of other mini tour guys. We've got an apartment here. A lot of good places to practice around here, obviously. Great weather. The other day, I was back home in Minnesota, just visiting home for a couple of days. And when I got on the plane back to Florida, when I got on the plane in Minnesota, the real feel was negative 27 degrees. When I got off the plane in Florida, the real feel was like about 80 degrees, so over 100 degrees of difference. So I'm very, very glad to be here.
You're in the right place, brother. And anywhere but Minnesota in the wintertime. I know it's fantastic in the summer, but there's no better place to play and practice in Florida than the West Coast, in my opinion. But why Lakewood Ranch? Why Sarasota? And where are you doing the bulk of your practicing?
Yeah, so I initially came to Lakewood Ranch specifically. One of my buddies got a job caddying at the Ritz-Carlton out here. It's about 10 minutes away from my apartment. And he got me and another one of my roommates a job caddying out there as well. So that was originally my plan for this winter.
Oh, look who it is. Where have you been?
Well, I've been busy helping buyers and sellers.
Gene Walsh from suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties So we have a new president. He's been in office for a couple of weeks. Can we read anything into that with how it's impacting the market?
Well, I think it's too early to tell at this point, Kevin, but we have seen interest rates come down a little. And so maybe that's a sign of more confidence.
Is it a buyer's market right now or a seller's market?
Well, when you look at the 2024 data here in Florida, we've noticed that the single family home market is still a balanced market, although the condominium market has become a buyer's market.
Pretty good amount of inventory in places near and dear to our heart, namely Lakewood National Golf Club.
We have 10 single family homes on the market as of today, and we have a number of condos. So, so I think there's something for everyone.
Gene Walsh, suncoaststreams.com, a division of Fine Properties. Thank you, honey.
Thank you.
Sure. I didn't expect to make it through Q school. So the plan was to caddy probably 3-4 times a week, make some money, save some money, and practice a lot, get stronger, get bigger, hopefully. And just try to really prep my game for playing probably Dakota's tour this summer is what I've been planning on. So that was how I ended up here originally. But then I made it through Q school, which I completely, it was my first time going through it. I wasn't sure how the nerves were going to be. I just wasn't expecting to do it, to be honest. So now I'm not caddying at the Ritz-Carlton anymore. And instead I'm just playing full-time golf. But yeah, where I practice mostly, there's a place called Next Gen Golf, actually. That's probably where I practice the most. It's about 10 minutes away from me. It's a simulator place, actually. It's got a bunch of TrackMan simulators. And growing up in Minnesota, every single winter, I would have to shut it down for about 6 months and just hit indoors on simulators. And I really like the way that it allows me to work on my game in a controlled environment and the way it helps me dial in numbers better than I can outdoors on an outdoor range. So I practice there. I'll hit balls there for an hour or two every day. Another place I practice at a lot is Bobby Jones Golf Club. It's a public course, but it's got a massive, really good chipping and putting area. And then recently, since I got Korn Ferry Tour status, I've started practicing at TPC Prestantia and TPC Tampa a little bit. And then I also just recently became a member at a course called Pasadena Yacht and Country Club. That's really nice. So a lot of places to practice at down here.
That's cool. Now, you mentioned not expecting to get through Q school, but that's a happy happenstance, a change of things. But your story in saying that you're planning on doing a lot of caddying and then playing pro golf when you could sounds like what a lot of guys on the West Florida Golf Tour have done. Kyle Rhodes, namely a 2-time guest here, and in the 58 and 59 club. By the way, he's playing a lot more golf than he was caddying before. But your story is familiar, and then it almost seems like you caught lightning in a bottle. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I want to take it all the way back to the beginning. Where does your golf journey begin?
Yeah, so I was born in Kentucky, but I grew up in Blaine, Minnesota. That's golf-wise, it's actually well-known. That's where TPC Twin Cities is, where they host the 3M Open every year. That's about 10 minutes away from my house in Minnesota, but I didn't grow up playing golf out there. I grew up playing predominantly at a course called Bunker Hills Golf Club near there, just a muni. They've got 40 or 36 holes out there. Good, really good executive course. So that was pretty much where I learned the game there, and then a couple of other public courses in the area. That was where I grew up. Really, was public courses, and I started golfing when I was 3. My parents gave me this plastic little tight set of golf clubs that were my favorite toy when I was about 2 years old. So when I turned 3, my grandparents gave me a set of metal golf clubs for my 3rd birthday. And I used to stand in the backyard. My dad would tee golf balls up for me with the little driver that I had, and I would try to hit the ball over the fence, over the fence in the backyard. So that was how the game started off for me. And then just played on public courses. I had a lot of lessons early on. I went to the first tee when I was young, had a couple of coaches, but I didn't really get a ton of serious coaching until I was about 12.
So as you're coming on board and falling in love with golf and playing it, Tiger's in his prime, right? Was he the man, or was it somebody else for you?
Yes, he was absolutely the man. I still remember my dad would show me the YouTube video of his chip on 16 in 2005 at the Masters. The chip where the ball hovers on the edge of the hole and then falls in. And I remember asking him to show me the video over and over again, because I just thought it was the coolest thing. I still remember I don't remember it well, but I remember I was watching when he made that putt to get into a playoff at the US Open in 2008. That's probably, I would have been, I think, 6 or 7 years old then. So I don't remember it too well, but he was the man.
The chip on 16 called by Vern Lundquist. In your life, have you ever seen such a thing? That, I think, is one of the most underrated shots of his career, because usually we see the other, like, just incredible shots out of trouble and everything, but just to have the guts and have the vision to put that much spin on it, take it away from the hole, kill it up on the hill and trickle it down. To me, I never get tired of seeing it. And Christian DeMarco, son of Chris DeMarco, who's been a 2-time guest, plays West Florida Golf Tour. He was there when it happened. And if it didn't happen, his dad wins the Masters. But he said it was something else. Ask him about that sometime, because if you love it, he can give you an even closer perspective on it. Yeah. Now, Caleb, tell me, you got good pretty quick. And but then you kind of hit a wall, and it lasted for a while. What happened?
Yeah, so when I was like 6, 7 years old, I was pretty good. So they have the U.S. Kids World Golf Championships every year in Pinehurst, North Carolina. And when I was 6, I finished 12th in that. When I was 7, I finished 6th in that. So I was a pretty good player back then. But the thing is, when you're 6 or 7, first of all, there's not a lot of 6 or 7-year-olds that play golf. And secondly, it's not the game when you're that young isn't so much about technique. Nobody's really strong enough to have a swing with solid mechanics, essentially. It's more about chipping and putting. And I practiced a lot. My dad would take me out to Victory Links back then, was the main course that I practiced at, and we would chip and putt a ton. So I had a good short game. So I was pretty competitive with the kids that age. But as I got older, I got to the point where the chipping and putting couldn't sustain me anymore. The problem was that I was a really small kid. I'm still not a big guy. I'm only 5'8", like 160 pounds. But as a kid, I was really, really small and not particularly strong at all. So my swing mechanics suffered because of that. I had just this goofy golf swing where I would just heave the club up. My back, I would sway my hips going back. My back was completely arched at the top. I got way past parallel. And then I would essentially have to slide my hips back into place and just jump up at impact.
Hold on. Just stop for a second. That sounds terrible. Did it look, was it as ugly as Jim Furyk's swing? Be honest.
Oh, 200 times worse. If you watch videos of my, I think I might still have a couple. You watch videos of my swing from that time, you're like, how is that guy hitting the golf ball? It's really bad. But when you're 6 or 7, it's all hand-eye coordination. Again, no kid is strong enough at that age to have like a really good swing. But as I got to be older, once I had started to be 10, 11, 12, my body still wasn't as strong. I was getting bigger though. And I had the swing mechanics stuck with me essentially. And I was competing against all these kids who were now bigger than me, stronger than me. And typically, played other sports. I never played any sports besides golf, really. And they just out ball struck me. My short game and putt. It doesn't matter how good your short game or putting are if your ball striking is terrible.
Yeah, because you're just lagging behind. You're just playing from too far behind. So you got some solid professional instruction. When did the turning point come?
Yes. So the turning point. So when I was 12, I was in 7th grade. My school district had a rule that if a middle schooler wanted to play on a high school team, they had to go through the school board. The school board had to approve all middle schoolers. And when I was a 7th grader, the school board did not approve me to play golf because I wasn't good enough. Their thought was that I would be taking a spot away from a high schooler when I probably didn't deserve it. And that entire summer, I played in the World Championships. That was the last year I could play in the World Championships. I think I finished like 70th or something. It was just a terrible tournament compared to where I had been just, a few years before. And after that, after I turned 13, started going to my current swing coach, Luc Benoit, and he made a ton of changes to my swing. I mean, the main thing we had to attack was that super arched back. So he had just basically for an entire winter. That's the advantage of living in Minnesota, by the way, is like you don't play outside for 6 months straight, so you can just grind on mechanics for 6 months. So we did that. He gave me taught me how to work out, got me a whole lot stronger. I think I gained something like 40 yards of distance with my driver. And then the next year, as an 8th grader, the school board did approve me to play golf on my high school team, which obviously I was good enough now. And I went on. I finished 9th place in our conference, 5th place in our section tournament to make it to the state tournament. Then I finished in 3rd place at the state tournament. So that was the turning point for me, because I went from a golfer who really, I hadn't gotten better for the last couple of years straight.
Which to me is crazy, because usually there's like a steady progression, but for you, you had the plateau. Yeah. Which probably was dispiriting, was it not?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I still remember. I remember watching, because so obviously growing up, Tiger was my favorite golfer, but Rory's been my favorite golfer since I was probably like 10 or 12. And I remember it was my 13th birthday when I was watching Rory McIlroy win the 2014 PGA Championship. I was watching it in the clubhouse of a tournament. It was a junior tournament. My sister was playing at it. She's a ridiculously good golfer. We can probably get into that later. But my sister was playing at it, and I had the opportunity to play in it, but I didn't. I didn't want to, because I was playing so bad at that point. And that watching, I still remember watching him, because it was so awesome. It was so inspiring. But at the time I was like, man, I suck. I want to do that, but like, I'm just nowhere close to it right now.
But eventually you persevered through it. You definitely have a hell of a work ethic, and you have some good help around you. And so let's talk about some career like tipping points. Would you say shooting 63 in a junior golf tournament was perhaps the highlight of junior golf? And if it was, why? Because I know there's more to it than I'm saying.
Yes. So there were 2 highlights to my junior career. They were both 63. So one of them was in a high school tournament. So they actually both of my 63s came within like 4 months of each other, I want to say. The first one was in a high school tournament my sophomore year. I was playing TPC Twin Cities. It was the second tournament of the year. And this was a pretty important time for me, because I obviously wanted very badly to play college golf. And I hadn't really done anything up to that point to get the attention of college coaches. I didn't, I'd only played in a couple of AJGAs. The college coaches typically want to see you playing well and having a good record outside of your state. And I only ever really played in Minnesota stuff for the most part, but I wanted to have a good high school season, obviously, to impress college coaches. And the second tournament, I shot 63 at TPC Twin Cities, which at the time has been tied since. At the time, that was the lowest high school round in state high school history. It was unbelievable and completely out of the blue.
Well, what was your low prior to that? Was that had you shot 63 or less prior to that?
No. I think my low was 67, possibly 60, probably 67, I would say.
Well, either way, you smashed it, like in a competitive sense. What was going on? Were you nervous about it? Were you in the zone? Were you like, holy smokes, when it was all over, what just happened?
So I still remember my goal, the scoring record at my high school, at Blaine High School, at that point was a 69. That was the lowest high school round that had ever been shot. And I knew back in the day, TPC Twin Cities was a pretty pretty gettable golf course. It was pretty wide open off the tee, and we were only playing it from 6,200 yards. So I knew that basically all the par fives were going to be reachable. And just generally, I mean, when they renovated the course to host a PGA Tour event, I want to say I heard they cut down on the fairway by like 60%. They cut the amount of fairway over half, essentially. So in the past, you could spray the ball essentially. So I knew it was going to be gettable. The weather was going to be good, and I really wanted to shoot better than 69. I wanted to shoot the school record, and I remember I made a couple of good putts, or I made like a couple of 15 footers to start off, including one for par, and then I think I made a couple more birdies in the middle of the round. And then I was like, okay, I want to give myself a cushion, because I was at that point, I was like 4 under par, and I was like, okay, I want to get to 5. I want to give myself that cushion so that I can make a couple bogeys and still shoot the 68. And it just kept going. And then I don't know, I got down. I was probably like, I think I was 7 under with 4 holes left. And I was like, oh my God, let's see what we can do.
Okay. Stop. Because I'm always fascinated by when you have that magical round going and where your mindset is. Are you thinking, why stop now? Or are you like, this is pretty good, let's protect a little and just get it in? What was going through your head?
I did not have the just protect the round mentality at all, which I don't know why, because I'd never been close to that level before. But I actually birdied my last hole. I think I finished like birdie, par, birdie, or something like that. But yeah, no, I just had, especially in the middle of the round, I just had the mentality of just, okay, let's get another birdie to give myself more of a cushion, because I really want to shoot a 68. But yeah, no, I remember walking off the course. It was kind of funny. There was the TPC Twin Cities. There's a ton of really big, nice houses everywhere. I was walking off the course. It was a shotgun start. I'd started on hole like 5 or something. I'm walking off the course, and some dude on his deck yelled out at me. He was like, "Hey, how'd you play today?" I was like, "Shot 63." And then he just started laughing. I was like, that guy thinks I'm completely making it up. But yeah, that was a cool moment.
That's cool. So was that the same 63 where you beat a rival that was maybe not necessarily the most liked golfer, but a good golfer in Minnesota, or is that a different story?
That was it. Yeah. So there's a dude from a rival high school who was a known cheater and was just generally didn't have the best reputation, I would say. And he shot 71. He played with one of my teammates. He walked in after the round and told his team, my teammates heard this. He told his team, "I just won this tournament." and then I walked in with the 63, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Caleb VanArragon is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try Party. And the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizicaro from suncoastdreams.com. If your dream is to live in the greater Sarasota area in a golf resort community, no better place than Lakewood National, and no better golf real estate pros than Gene and Vince. Caleb, let's move it forward a little bit. So you kind of talked about life in Minnesota, and nobody really knew who you were on the outside. And then you ended up at Valparaiso.
Yes.
Why there? Or was part of that because nobody really knew who you were outside of Minnesota? Your words.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I wasn't recruited super, a whole lot out of high school because, I only played in a couple of AJGAs. For the most part, my record was I only played in in-state stuff. And honestly, until my senior year of high school, I wasn't particularly good. I wasn't super consistent. So I always knew also that I wanted to go to a smaller school in the Midwest. I figured I knew I wasn't going to want to go too far away from home. And I had gone to, I went to Blaine High School, huge high school, and Roosevelt Middle School, big middle school, but I'd gone to a smaller Christian school for elementary school. So I'd always kind of known that I going to a school where there's 40,000 kids and, you've got lecture halls of 500 students. I knew that probably wasn't for me. So I knew I wanted a smaller school, and, somewhat semi close to home, and Valpo was just the perfect fit for me. So our Coach Gring, actually has family in Blaine. So that was the initial connection. And I just knew when I visited there, I was just a huge fan of Coach Gring. First of all, he's just a great coach and an even better person. And I really liked the guys on the team who I met too. They seemed really mature, very, very focused. And, it wasn't, it was a tough decision for me. It was between Valpo and Butler, actually, two Indiana schools, but I ended up going for Valpo, and it ended up being the best decision of my life. I loved my 5 years at Valpo. It was, Coach Gring is, the best college coach you could ever ask for. And I had amazing teammates. So.
But it wasn't always easy. You were in college during COVID. You had some struggles with your golf game and maybe your motivation. What was going on?
Yeah, so I started off, my freshman year of college was 2019 to 2020. I had a decent fall of my freshman year, which I don't really know how that happened. Like I just wasn't, the transition to college was, I wouldn't say I was the most focused on golf. I was more, I don't know. It was just such a new experience being in college. I was taking some pretty hard classes. I was pretty focused on the academic part and meeting new people and stuff like that. So I didn't really take golf all that seriously, honestly, my freshman year. I was still practicing a lot and, that type of thing, but I wouldn't say I didn't think I was going to be, I think I was my best ever junior golf scoreboard rank as a high schooler was like 241 or something like that. I was never even in the top 200 high school golfers in the country. And I don't think I really thought that I had that good of a chance of turning pro. So that just wasn't really something that was super on my radar, I wouldn't say. But then COVID happened, and it was actually the first tournament of my sophomore year. That was probably the turning point for me. I had played, like I said, I had a pretty solid freshman year, but then over COVID, I really lost focus. I would say I just wasn't super invested in golf. In that first tournament, my sophomore year, I was leading by 1 or 2 going into the final round. It was a very small tournament. We weren't actually, Valpo was the only D1 team in the tournament. And then the final round, I shot 80. I was 6 over par through 4 holes and shot 80. That was the only time I ever shot 80 in college. And it was really tough because I not only did I didn't have an opportunity to prove myself again. I think we had one more one-day tournament in like a couple of weeks, and then no more tournaments until we didn't know. It was COVID. We didn't know if we would even have a spring season. So that was really tough for me because I really badly. I wanted to get those results, even if I hadn't been super invested in golf. I hated losing. I loved competing, and I hated losing. And that was kind of a wake up call for me. That was like, if I keep doing this, if I am not super invested in golf, I'm not putting in the work outside of, just the lead up to tournaments, this is what's going to keep happening. And I kind of made
stop for a sec. So it's not the result you like. You're disappointed in yourself. I take it maybe you were a little embarrassed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
that was the first time. Throughout high school, my score had never been dropped in a tournament, and they had to drop my 80. So it was tough. Yeah.
So that was the wake up call, the kick in the ass. Maybe you think you needed to get it going. Yeah. And then
that was the most important round of my college career, and maybe my golf career, I would say. Okay.
So you come back, just for brevity's sake, I'm gonna skip a couple steps, but you really caught fire in 2023, right? It sounds like you just became like a totally different golfer. Let's go through some of the stuff. You won the Minnesota State Open by how many shots?
9.
How many under par?
12, 11, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 11. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, but I don't have it in my notes here. But to me, the big one was the Minnesota State Amateur by miles, 23 under par. Yes. What are you thinking about as you have those results? Are you like, okay, I'm going to make it, I'm going to chase it? Were those the the jumping into the pro game points?
That it was, yeah, because so I'd known basically since the start of 2021, essentially was when I made the decision. All right, I'm going to give golf everything I have for the next couple of years, see if I can get good enough that pro golf is even an option for me. And I did, and I had a very, very good 2021. 2022 was a down year for me though. I won a tournament at the start of the year, but then just flatlined. Even though I was practicing more than I ever had before in my life. I mean, I would go to in the summer, I would do this thing. I would line up 4 different golf courses that I would go to. I would go to each course, drive, 10, 20 minutes between the two of them, putt for an hour, maybe a little bit more at each of them, just because I wanted to practice putting on as many different greens as I possibly could. So I would go and literally have days when I'd practice putting for 5-6 hours. And that was my ball striking got better, during that time. My chipping was, I don't know, chipping was fine, but I watched as my putting, even though I was practicing it just like an absolute maniac, just slowly deteriorated. And it continued to be pretty bad to start 2023. I had a not very good 2023 spring college season, first couple of summer tournaments. I actually had a couple of really terrible tournaments. And it was really frustrating because I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm learning from every tournament. I feel like I'm taking lessons away. I feel like I'm practicing, especially putting, the part of my game that was plaguing me the most, more than I ever have before. I'm just not seeing these results. And at the time, it was really disappointing because I was like, man, I'm practicing as much as a professional golfer and I'm getting worse. Like, I don't know if I'm going to turn pro. And that was tough for me because being a professional golfer is a dream I've had ever since I was 5, honestly. So that was tough. But then
So you feel like you're frustrated that you're not getting the results from the practice, and you feel like the dream is slipping away. And how'd you get it back? How'd you get the putting back? How did you get 23 under par? What happened?
Two 5-minute lessons from my coach, Luke Benoit, the guy who I talked about earlier. The first lesson, he taught me how to practice. He taught me the 3-5-7-4-6-8 drill. Because I was doing a lot of block practice. So, you set the tees around the hole, you hit putts to try to make however many in a row. And that, he told us, so Luke has a PhD in motor learning. He's pretty much probably the smartest person I've ever met, I think. And he's, and he told me, like, from a motor science perspective, if you look at the literature, that's just a horrible way to practice. That's not what you want to do. So he gave me 3-5-7-4-6-8 drill. You take 6 golf balls, you throw them around a hole at 3 feet, 5 feet, 7 feet, 4, 6, 8. And then you hit the putts. And then you move on to another hole and do the same thing. You do that 15 times. So you have 90 putts in total, and you count how many you make out of 90. And that was huge for me because it taught me green reading. Because that's the idea is you're not taking a ton of time over every putt. You're just taking enough, and you're what Luke calls it is a cockpit read. So you're maybe getting behind the ball for like a second or two, but basically that had been one of my problems in putting was I just couldn't read a green. And all of a sudden I'm hitting 100 putts a session or something like that. And that's how I read putts now, essentially. So even if it's a 100-foot long putt, I'll break it up into 10-foot chunks. And because I do this drill so much, I have a really good feeling for how every 10-footer is going to break. So that was the first thing he taught me. The second thing, he basically just told me to relax, because that was my problem. Is I was doing this drill like crazy. I was learning but I was basically trying to focus too hard on the hole. I was trying to focus. I was looking. I wasn't sure what my mind or my eyes or whatever should be on when I putted. And he told me, he said, look at the hole, then look generally at the ball. Don't try to focus on a spot. Just look generally down at the ball. And then while you're putting, all you need to think about is relax. And then I had the weeks of State Open, State Am were probably the 2 best putting weeks of my life up until that point. So
it freed you up. It gave you purpose. You felt like you were practicing smarter instead of harder. And then just free mind, free body, free flowing stroke. And then it just sort of almost happened by accident, although it wasn't really an accident.
Oh, absolutely. No, exactly. And it's kind of funny too, because the state open, I almost didn't even play well at all. I was like 2 over through my first 7 holes. Just not playing good. I remember having a feeling like there's certain times where you play a tournament and it doesn't go well, and you're just like, okay, I just want to get off this golf course. And then you know that every time you think about that golf course, the rest of for going forward, you're just gonna be like, man, I don't like that place. I literally remember thinking partway through the first round, I was like, man, this might be one of those tournaments where I just think you leave, and I'm like, man, Oak Ridge Country Club, I don't like that place. But then I made 2 20-footers in a row for birdie on 8 and 9. Ended up salvaging a pretty decent first round. Second round, I was like 1 over through 4 or something like that. But my game felt good, and my attitude was solid. I think I made an eagle on 5, I want to say, and then ended up shooting like 66 or something like that, and was I want to say I was tied for the lead. And then the final round, I think I shot like 6 under or something like that again, and won by 9. It was unbelievable.
That is closing the deal, bro. All right. And then the Minnesota State Amateur, you won by miles. Let me just for brevity's sake, because of that great summer, you got a sponsor's invitation into the 3M in Minnesota. Why don't you tell me about that phone call? Yes,
that was unbelievable. So I was driving back home from Victory Links. That's a golf course, the course that I played a ton when I was really young, and that's where they host the Monday qualifier, actually, believe it or not, for the 3M. So I spent all day practicing there because I thought I was going to have to play in the Monday qualifier. I'm driving back from there, and I get the call from Mr. Kavner, the tournament director. It said, "You're not playing the Monday qualifier. You're playing in the Pro-Am." And that was, I was driving down the street. I've driven down 100 times, not even 100,000 probably. And it just felt like I wasn't even there. It was the most surreal experience I think I've ever had.
Well, are you like buzzing? Is every cell in your body tingling, or do you feel numb? What's happening?
Yeah, no, first of all, I was terrified because at that point, I never played in a USAM, never played in a national championship, never played in a PGA Tour Canada, Corn Ferry, nothing like that. It was just, 0 to 100 at the nothing to PGA Tour, just like that. So it was a very scary week, I would say. But
hold on. Don't get too far ahead. So who's the first person you call after you got off the sponsor's invite call, and what went down there?
Yeah, no, I was pretty much home at that point, but no, I walked in the door and said, I'm playing at the 3M Open. and then it was time to find a caddy. And my initial thought had been to go for my college coach, because he'd watched me play, 100 rounds plus over the past few years. But there's actually an NCAA rule that prohibits that. College coaches can only caddy for players in national championships, and the 3M unfortunately wasn't considered a national championship. But then my high school coach was available that week. So I had my high school coach, Kevin Overgaard, caddy for me, and it was unbelievable. It was such a cool experience, because he had known me since my 7th grade year, since I was 12 years old. And now 10 years later, all of a sudden go from the kid who got basically cut from the high school team to him caddying for me in a PGA Tour event was just the most unbelievable thing.
Well, did you have some pinch me moments when it was just you guys maybe walking down the fairway together, and he looks at you and says, "I can't believe this," and you're like, "I can't either"? Give me a feel for it.
Yeah, no, I think the coolest moment, I'd been telling him the entire tournament. It was a rough tournament for me. Unfortunately, it was only 2 rounds, but I'd been telling him all I wanted was just to make that one long putt with a big audience. I just wanted to have a crowd go crazy. And so there was actually a rain delay the second round. So we ended up, the last 12 holes we played, there was basically no fans watching, besides my family, some friends that had come out to watch me. And then there's another another sponsor's exemption that I was playing with that had a ton of fans. But then the last hole, I finished on 9 in pretty much the pitch black. They waited to blow the horn until right after I teed off, which was nice of them. But we're in the pitch black, and I made a 15-footer for birdie. It was the first long putt I pretty much made all tournament, and the crowd, what was left of it, went crazy. And just looking at him after that, it was unbelievable to be like, oh my God, I just played.
Oh, so that was a nice high to hear that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When you got to the tournament, though, who did you see, and what was the impact on you?
Yeah, I got out of my car, and the first person I saw, I believe, was Sahith Theegala, and it was just immediately like, oh my God! Like I watched this guy play on TV for the past few years. I mean, I've watched his swing, read interviews by him, and like all this stuff. He's right there. So that was, I mean, and I'm playing in the same tournament as him. Like that was kind of the holy cow moment. And then there were other things, like Justin Thomas was there. I'm pretty sure Hideki Matsuyama was there. I'm practicing on the putting green, and Justin Thomas is right next to me. I'm like, oh my God, this is wild. So
nervous as hell.
Yes. Yeah. There's actually a kind of funny story with Justin Thomas. So at the time, my golf bag was severely damaged. It had gotten, one of the legs had gotten bent on the plane. I had taken it out of the travel case, and the leg was bent. So it had this tendency to just topple over all the time. Right. And I played 9 holes practice round on Tuesday, and my mom was actually caddying for me at that point. My high school coach had a school thing. My mom's caddying for me. We get done, set the bag down next to the putting green, and then we're going to go because someone wanted to introduce me to some people at TaylorMade. My mom sets it down. I'm walking off the green, and I turn around and I realize that it's in a perfect position such that if it falls over, it's going to knock over Justin Thomas's golf bag. It was like 1 foot away from Justin Thomas's golf bag. And if it fell over, like it literally did it like 4 times during the practice round, it was going to knock over his bag. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then we go meet the people at TaylorMade, and it became apparent that they wanted to get me some new clubs. So my mom went out to go get my bag so they could get the specs on everything. And the bag was in a different position. Someone had moved it. So there's a decent chance that my golf bag knocked over Justin Thomas's bag on the bag.
I take it that Charlie Brown bag is no longer in the rotation. We have a suitable golf bag for professional golf.
I do. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I want to get into that. So let's move it forward to Korn Ferry Tour. So Q School, you go through. You're not expecting to get through, but you do. What are the nerves like? Because I've talked to other guys before. They say they can't breathe. It's the scariest they've ever been in their life. What was it for you?
This is going to sound really, really weird because obviously Q School has a reputation as being the single most nerve-wracking tournament in golf. But I actually wasn't that nervous because it was my first time doing it. So I was like, I'm young. I'm 23. I felt like if I didn't make it, I was going to have many, many more chances in the future. And to be honest, I wasn't sure that my game was ready yet. I'm not a particularly long hitter, I wouldn't say. I'm a small guy. And I was at the time, I was looking forward to spending the next 4 or 5 months, essentially now down here in Florida, just trying to get stronger. My goal was essentially to gain probably 10, 15 pounds, hopefully over the course of the next 5 months, and practice my game, get better at playing on Bermuda, play some mini tour stuff, hopefully and then make some money caddying. So that was my plan. I wasn't really afraid of what would happen if I didn't make it because I believed that I was going to get better, and I would believe that in the future I was going to be good enough to make it, even if it didn't happen when it did. So I was nervous. Obviously, it's Q School. It's hard. It's not a walk in the park. But I went into it and I took the attitude of I have less to lose than anybody else in the tournament. And it worked. I mean,
I think I get it. Sometimes low expectations, not that that's a great habit to be in, but sometimes it works because it takes some of the pressure off you and it frees you up. Is that kind of how it all went down in your opinion?
Yes, I had the best attitude during Q school of any golf tournament I've ever had before in my life. So the first day, second stage, the first day I was like 4 over par through 6, just playing like an absolute baboon pretty much. And I actually made on my 6th hole, I made like a 25 footer for bogey on a drivable par 4. But that was like it was an important putt still. I was able to keep it together. I think I shot like 2 over the first round or something like that. So I salvaged it pretty well. It didn't shoot me out of the tournament. Second round, I think I was like 1 over through 7, and then ended up finishing strong again, shot like 2 or 3 under par. The third round is where things got crazy. I started off, I got some really bad breaks. I think I lipped out like 3 or 4 putts over the first 6 holes. And then just had a couple of really bad shots in the middle of the round. I was 5 over par with 5 holes to play. And then I hit a 5-iron to like 11 feet on my 14th hole, hit the putt. Then I hit 2 pitching wedges in a row to 3 feet. And the final hole, I hit a 5-wood to 3 feet for eagle to get me back to even par on the round and keep me just within shouting distance going into the final round. And then the final round, I was even par, I want to say I was even par with 7 holes to play. I needed to get it to 3 or 4 under the rest of the way to make it. And I hit 5-iron to 8 feet for birdie, 3-iron to 3 feet for birdie, and then a pitching wedge to like 3 feet for birdie on my 17th hole, and ended up making it on the number. It was the most unbelievable.
Dang.
It was crazy. And what I was so proud of myself. I mean, ultimately, all of those things are kind of just luck, to be honest. I mean, it's not like I was intending to do any of that. I was just making good swings that happened to end up close to the hole. I didn't feel like I was doing anything superhuman, but I was just really proud of myself for keeping myself locked in enough mentally and having a good enough attitude that I could stay in it and give that even the possibility of happening.
Good for you. I like that. The hanging in there, because some days you don't have it, and a lot of guys might have just packed it in, but you just stuck around hoping something good would happen, and it did. Yeah, just in time. So we're recording this on a Tuesday night, February 19th. You're about to take a trip. Where are you going?
Going to Argentina. It's the 5th and 6th Corn Ferry events of the season. It's Argentina and Chile. So I leave for that on Sunday. So that'll be an interesting experience. The farthest I've ever really been from the United States was Colombia, like 2 weeks ago for the Corn Ferry Tour event. So it's been such an amazing experience getting to see all these different countries though. So I'm looking forward to it.
Caleb VanArragon is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks and the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoaststreams.com. So you got 4 Corn Ferry Tour events under your belt with getting your card that guaranteed you how many starts?
Guaranteed me 8 starts. So yeah, like you said, played in 4 of them so far.
2 cuts made, 2 cuts missed. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Made the first 2 cuts, missed the last 2. Had a top 20 in the second event, finished tied for 19th. So that was really good for me just to see some good results and know that I can get up there.
Well, tell me this, for a guy that wasn't expecting to get through Q school, and then you did, and now you're on the Corn Ferry Tour. When you look around, are you like, I belong here, or do you say, I got a lot of work to do?
I mean, I know I have a lot of work to do. I mean, I know that there's a lot of aspects in my game that I can improve. But I do know, I mean, there's definitely a lot of guys out there that were better than me throughout college. Like I was never an All-American in college. I had a good college career, but I wasn't ever anything exceptional. But there were a lot of guys out there who I all throughout college, I would always see them at the top of the rankings, at the top of leaderboards and the big tournaments and stuff. And it's really cool to get to compete with them now. And it's cool seeing that I can put up scores that are similar to them. It's cool playing with them and seeing that they hit the ball similarly to the way that I do. But no, I mean, that's the beauty of golf. I feel like is you're never gonna solve it. It's never. I mean, even Scotty Scheffler, there's still things that he can improve, even though he's the number one golfer in the world far and away. So there's definitely still things that I want to work on and things that I feel like I can get better at.
Sure. Let's go back to the family stuff. So who's the better golfer in the family, you or your sister? Tell me about her.
That's tough. She's a very, very good player. So currently she's a sophomore at St. Thomas University in Minneapolis. And so when she was in 7th grade, she actually won the state tournament and the state high school tournament. When she was in 8th grade, she won the women's state am. And when she was in 9th grade, she won the women's state open in Minnesota. So she's had quite the career. And it's
hold on. Stop.
Yeah.
Say that again. What tournaments did she win? At what age?
She's the youngest person ever to win the Minnesota State High School Tournament, youngest person ever to win the Minnesota Women's State Am, and the youngest person ever to win the Women's State Open. So it's cool.
The state amateur when she was in what grade?
8th grade. Yeah, it was.
And the state open in 9th grade.
Yeah. And I not to brag or anything, but I was on the bag for the state am and open wins. So
that's so cool.
That was an unbelievable experience. So,
well, tell me about your relationship with her.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of funny because neither of my parents really golf. My dad was a 5-time All-American runner in college, and my mom was a college swimmer. So they were both college athletes. And my dad actually was a professional runner for a year or two. So there's obviously some athleticism there, but not in golf. Neither of them. My dad played golf a little bit for fun and in grad school, and my mom played for I think 1 year on her high school team. But otherwise, it just started with me playing as a kid, and then my sister kind of just got into it because I was doing it. She did some other sports though, but again, golf was the main one. And no, it's awesome because I mean I would say we're a little bit different in the way that we look at the game. For me, I never have swing thoughts when I hit. It's always just see the shot, feel the shot. For her, she'll often have like 2 or 3 swing thoughts going on at the same time. And it's all about dialing in those swing thoughts and finding the ones that are working well on any given day. But she's really helped my game because she generally has a good attitude on the golf course and is quick to call me out when I don't, I think, which is important. So
that's nice. So you have a nice relationship as siblings. What's her name?
Catherine VanArragon. So
Catherine, is it competitive between you two? Do you ever mix it up? Play a little money game? Or?
We play sometimes, not as much as we could though. But yeah, no, I mean if we're practicing together, we'll usually get some sort of putting or chipping game going. It's too bad because we don't have a ton of opportunities to play together because I mean in Minnesota the golf season is only about 6 months long, and usually that's just a whirlwind of tournaments. So usually if I'm not at a tournament, she is or something like that. So, but no, and we in the off season and during the season, I mean, we practice together a bunch, and it's such a gift to have someone that good to get to practice with and everything. So
that's cool. Well, I take it you have some good people to practice with that live in your apartment there. What's it like living 4 dudes living in an apartment chasing the dream? Does it ever get a little wild or weird in there? You tell me.
No, definitely. I mean, so we're in this apartment only for 7 months. So we've got pretty much the bare minimum that you can imagine a group of mini tour guys needing. So none of the 3 of us, all 3 of us, our beds are just mattresses on the ground. We haven't gotten like any type of bed stand or anything like that. In our living room, we didn't want to like buy a couch or anything like that, because we were like, we're just going to end up getting rid of it in 7 months. So instead of a couch, we just have a few beach chairs that we're borrowing from another guy we know. And then we just
no, stop. Beach chairs. You have outdoor furniture inside.
We do. And then we just have, it was nice because we have a ton of open space. We got a little putting mat in there, and then we got, I think TJ brought out a blanket. So that's where we all go to stretch out and, or, foam roll or whatever we need. So it's pretty bare minimum for a few mini tour guys who are, expecting to move out pretty soon.
Okay. What about the chores, keeping the place clean? Is anybody a little lazy about doing the dishes?
I mean, I'm not gonna not to brag or anything, but I think we're actually pretty clean. Like we do dishes every night. We mop every week. All the stuff we need to do. But none of us like a messy house. So it's very, there's nothing there, but it's very clean. So that's how I describe it.
Caleb, tell me a funny golf travel story. It could have been from college or, in the short time that you've been a professional. That's a go-to. Always gets a good laugh or a reaction from whoever you're telling.
This isn't a travel story, but it's just a story about, I don't know, mini tour life just in general. So one of my roommates, TJ, I've been living with him for the past 4 months now. And in order to save money, on food, what he's been eating for the past 4 months straight, he's eating the same thing for lunch and dinner every single day. He calls it trough. It's basically, according to him, it's the most like cost effective way to get all the nutrients you need in. So essentially what he'll do is it's a bunch of ground beef, rice, Greek yogurt, corn, and beans. Mix it all together, like cook it all up, mix it all together, and he puts in a huge Tupperware. And that's what he's had for the last 4 months straight. And he said he's saved a ton of money on groceries because all you need to do is buy those 5 things, and those things are fairly cheap and a ton of protein and other nutrients. So that's the mini tour. That's how mini tour guys try to save money while optimizing their games.
Oh, I know. You guys got to be cheap because there's just not a lot of money to be had and expenses are high. But that's actually better than I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say he was eating ramen noodles, like everybody in college, or mac and cheese.
Exactly. It's basically the inside of a Chipotle burrito. So
yes. Well, it can't be that bad then. Tell me this. Have you ever hated competitive golf?
I never hated competitive golf itself, but I'd say I've always loved it so much. The thing that's always, if I've been playing bad, the thing that's scared me is the possibility of not being able to play it in the future. Because you got to earn your opportunities out here. If professional golf doesn't work out, then probably go get a real job. And I think that's the thing that scares me more than anything else is possibility of not getting to play golf for a living, because it's I love golf so much, and it's so fun to get to play it. If I'm playing bad, it's never directed at golf. It's just, I want to keep playing this as long as I can.
Well, I think you're set up for the future. If golf didn't work out or after your playing days are done, you seem pretty smart. How many degrees from Valparaiso do you have, and what are they in?
I have 3 degrees. So I got a double major in biology and statistics, and then I got a master's degree. It was nice with the COVID year. I got to get a master's degree in data analytics. So those are, if golf doesn't work out, I would probably go back to school and get a PhD, probably in either biology or biostatistics, something in that field, and then probably either become a professor or do something in research or something in that field. So, and I when I was in college, I honestly took school probably more seriously than I took golf, to be honest. My grades were pretty solid, and I did a bunch of research. I've got my name on a couple of scientific journal articles, one in in organic chemistry, one in microbiology. So that's something I'm pretty passionate about too. But golf is a lot more fun to do every day, I would say.
Yeah. Well, you're looking good, and I know your golf is trending good in the right direction. I'm a big believer in look good, feel good, play good. Tell me about what you're wearing. Let's talk about your sponsors. Who's swagging you out here?
Yes. So my main sponsor is Rip Golf. That's actually the company was founded by Luke, my swing coach. And their main product is Rip Stick. It's kind of like speed sticks, except all the weights are in one stick. You can pop the weights out really easily. The idea is it's a lot more convenient because you only have one stick instead of three. Plus, it's got a counterweight in the grip that makes it easier to swing at heavyweights. So I've used that for like 5 years, and then it's a great product, and I'm really grateful that they helped me out. And then my clothing sponsor is a company called Unreal. It's a Minnesota-based company. They've sponsored a bunch of Minnesota guys, a bunch of guys from University of Minnesota and Corn Ferry guys from Minnesota. So and they make really good stuff. I mean, the golf shirts, it feels like a workout shirt when you swing in it. It's awesome. So and it looks great too. So no, I'm very grateful for both of those companies for helping me out.
Got to look good, man. You got to look good when you're playing golf, because people notice when you look good or when you look frumpy, and just keep looking unreal and playing unreal here. Okay, we're getting near the end here, Caleb. If you had one tip that you could give any golfer of any level where you knew it would just help their game out, what would it be?
The only time that you should be doing block practice, which is hitting the same shot over and over again, generally is if you're working on something technical. So obviously if you're changing your swing, if you're working on something with your putting stroke, then it's okay to do the same shot over and over again. But unless you're doing that, there's very little benefit to hitting the same shot over and over again, because that's not what you do on the golf course. If I'm having a range session, I'm hitting low draw, then high fade, then knockdown, then high draw, then switching clubs. If I'm putting, I'm doing, every putt I try to make a different distance, different break, all that stuff, because that's what, to me, and I didn't come up with that idea myself. That's all Luke talking. He's the one with the PhD in motor learning, and he said that's what the research supports. And just for me personally, I've found that just engages my brain a lot more, because I don't know, when you're hitting putts on the course, you don't get multiple tries. So I think it's best to practice, one putt, read it, hit it, see if your read was right, see if everything was how you intended to. Go on to another putt, do that. So
yeah, mix it up, keep it fresh. That keeps it fun too. And keeps you engaged. I mean, that's the thing. Instead of just pounding balls and just, 7 straight 7-irons, just like same distance. Yeah, knock that up like that. Okay, final question here, bud. Let's dive real deep. In your words, tell me how much golf has meant to your life.
I mean, it's been my favorite thing in the world ever since I was probably 5, I would say. I mean, I love golf, but what I love most about golf is the process of trying to improve. I love competing. I love, playing rounds and stuff. But I think what I love most about it is being able to wake up every day knowing that you're never going to be perfect at golf. That's just not possible, no matter what. Every day when I wake up, I have an opportunity to make myself better at it. And that's what I love the most about it, is every day I have the purpose of being like, okay, I can go out and practice and go trying to get better. So to me, golf means, purpose and joy in every day.
Yeah. Well said. Hey man, listen, I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you did too. And I wish you great success as you head off to South America. And I hope to see you in a couple of months when the Corn Ferry Tour comes through Lakewood National Golf Club and the Suncoast Classic. All right. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, just keep playing good golf. Happy for you, and just the way you carry yourself, and continued success. Okay, Caleb?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah, you got it. Caleb VanArragon has been our guest here on Party Time, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. And the Golf Real Estate Pros from SuncoastDreams.com, Vince Vizzacaro, and Gene Walsh. If your dream is to live in a golf resort community, then they're your people. For Caleb VanArragon, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, my golf story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.